Sorry, so we're recording for today now, and as soon as I don't want that. I don't know how to turn it off. There we go. As soon as I move over here, it's recording this. It still sees the little webcam screen down at the bottom, but it's mainly recording what's on my screen. See how that, like, that's what it sees down at the bottom. So if we're looking at this, it sees everything that we see, but if we go look at why I do these recordings, what I actually do with them, right here in the 4.2 folder, and I'm just showing this because all of the classes have done 4.2, right here, a lot of people asked me the same question, so I made a little help me video there. And then a lot of people, or sorry, not a lot of people, this, anytime you see a video that starts with M7 or A7 or anything like that, those are videos from class. So this is our class video of whatever we did in class. So if you want to watch, and it's 42 minutes long because class is, you know, about 44 minutes. So right now we're recording today's class lesson, and then that will get posted in like the 4.4 and probably also the 4.5 folder. Watching a video while recording a video. Ah. So notice your 4.4 and 4.5 homework are one combined assignment right here in the 4.4 folder. So if we go back to, it's like 17 questions. It's 2 nights worth of homework. So really, I think I have that set due Sunday or something like that, like Sunday at midnight. I don't know how to make this go away. So I'm still learning things. So, do we all have our homework written down? Yes. So if we think about this problem, sorry that you can't really see the pizza. I don't know how to make that go away. So Nick goes to a party, and Nick notices that the pizza is divided into 8 equal sections. Yeah, I know. Normally it would go away. Maybe that's a setting I need to play with. So we'll see if that gets too annoying as we go through class. Is it annoying already?
Yes. I feel like it's that thing in the settings.
I know. Hold up. See, it won't let me access settings while I'm doing this. There we go, maybe. Nope. Yeah, it works really well. So if you watch like the help me video that I had posted, that's the first one with the new microphone. Yeah, guys, I don't know how to make that go away. So let's just see if it'll go away in a second. Otherwise, we'll keep playing with it. But we want to get through our lesson. So, I gave you guys your 4.4.4.5 notes, right? Okay, so we should have those out. So if you see that, like if you know that we need to continue something from the day before, you should go ahead and get those out. Our learning target for today is that I can fluently find the difference, which means subtract, between rational values. I can accurately determine the sign of the solution. What this means in the problem, whether that be an elevation change or whether that be, a lot of the times we'll talk about elevation changes, temperature changes, that sort of thing. So how far did we make it in your notes? We're on the back. By the way, reminder about practice work. If you look up at the TV for a second, and so that it's on the video, I'll drag it back down here for a second. If you don't hit the submit button, what I see makes it look like you didn't do it. So you got to make sure that you submit your homeworks, even if it's like, and you don't see the score until you submit it. But even if it's below an 80%, that's okay. I just got to see that you've been working on it and been attempting it. So remember, we have 3 attempts. If after 3 attempts you still can't get an 80, you want to come and meet with me because that means you've got some issues that we need to take care of together. And then if you work through those problems with me, I can manually change your score to above an 80%. So unlike digits where I couldn't control anything, I could change the problems and stuff, but I couldn't actually control your score. In the Schoology gradebook, I can do all of that. So that's why I like Schoology a lot better. If you're having issues, come work with me. A student yesterday came up and they were like, well, I thought these problems were right, Because on digits, it would check each individual problem, right? Yeah, you couldn't move on until you got that problem right, or you had to like skip it and then come back to it. In Schoology, it moves on, and it doesn't grade until the absolute end of the assignment. So you won't get your grade, or you won't know right or wrong until the end of the assignment. All of my posters keep falling off the walls. It's the humidity changes. I will win eventually. So I think we did this problem, the -1/5 minus the -1/5.
Yeah.
I think we ended with that, right? So let's try to model these on the number line. Now, one of the hardest things, and if you already tried the homeworks, you noticed there was a little bit of like locating on the number line that we had to do. So if I need to start at -1/2, I first off need to figure out where is half. Now, how do I know what the value of one of these tick marks is? And we call those little divider lines, we call them tick marks, T-I-C-K, don't know why, as opposed to like a deer tick that you definitely do not want on you. Dom, I know I hate ticks.
You know the value of them because it's how many tick marks make up one number. So how many from a whole number to another whole number.
Yeah, how many to get to a whole value? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means each of those tick marks is worth 1/6. So if I look at that positive first tick mark, I know that that is 1/6. So I need to start at a -1/2. So since I'm negative, which side of 0 am I going to be on? The left side
of 0.
Okay, and you don't have your name tent, so I was going to ask you to remind me your name. There it is. Jeremiah. That's what I thought. But guys, if I have an expectation that you're supposed to have these name tents every day in class, and like that's a pretty easy expectation, I'm looking for that. And that's kind of setting the precedent of I have a pretty easy expectation, and are you doing it or not? It's to help me learn your name because I respect you guys. So please help me out. Have those name tents out so I can easily see your name. I don't like having to ask you your name. And it helps me just look around the room and keep practicing in my head. I keep kind of trying to memorize them. So how many sixths do I need to go to have a half? How many sixths do I need to go for a half? Andrew? Half of sixths? 3, right? Because 3/6 equals a half, because I could reduce this. Now, how do I reduce fractions? There's a lot of this on your homework that it says reduce or simplify, and then some of the questions say leave them improper. Please check those directions before you click it, because there is a trap door. If you don't reduce it, it's wrong. There's a trap door question on the homework. I'm telling you now, there's a trap door, so be careful. That, like, if you don't watch out, you'll fall into it. So, Manasa, how do I reduce? Find a number that I can divide both the numerator and the denominator by, because if I do something in the numerator, I have to do it in the denominator, otherwise I change my fraction. If I do it in both places, I don't physically change the fraction, so I divide by 3 on top and bottom. I see that those are the same. But remember that we have to be negative, so I'm going to go -3/6. So I go 1 and a 2 and a 3, and we start right here. So if you want to notate, that is -3/6, or we can just say -1/2, because we like to work in simplest form. So go ahead and notate that point on your number line. Then I'm told to subtract 5/6, and a few different people have come and asked me about, wait, is that a minus or a negative? Because there's a problem on your homework that's something like, I think it's -13 minus 6. And people were saying, well, wait, what is that? Well, if we look at this in front of the 13, there's no other number out here. That can't be a minus, so that has to be a negative. This being between two values is an operation, so that makes this a minus. But if you think about what subtracting tells you to do on the number line, say I was at 11 and I got told to subtract. Which way would I go? Down, right? If I'm just subtracting a number. Now, if I'm subtracting a negative, then we pair up those signs, we make an addition, then it becomes addition. Those carts from Kabilo are in the library now. I parked them out there. Yeah. And were you not here yesterday? So it's yesterday's notes. We're continuing yesterday's notes. Yeah. I don't know if you weren't in here, if you missed me saying that, but we're just finishing yesterday's notes. Then we'll probably move on to new notes. So pay attention to whether it pairs with the number to give the number a sign or whether it's an operation. So this right here is an operation. So it says subtract 5, 6. If I subtract 5, 6, which way am I going to go? On this number line, left or right? Left, right? Because subtracting takes me away from where I am or to the negative direction. So I'm going to do this in blue. So 5, 6, that can't be reduced. So we might as well just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We land right here. Now the question is, what is this value? So I passed -1. How far past -1 am I? That's a bad looking one. -1. And Dom, how many sixths did I go past -1? 2, right? So I'm at -1 and 2 sixths, but that is not simplest form. Ellie? 1/3, because I can divide the numerator and the denominator by 2, and I really get -1 and 1/3. So we always want to simplify if possible. Go ahead and draw out the model for the next one, which this one is harder. I will warn you, it is more difficult. I'm going to capture and zoom in, so we've got plenty of space to get the details.
How does this? I don't get it. It's messing with my brain.
So remember, we can't just say, I don't get it. Ask a question about what don't you get.
You can't go back to 3.5.
Sorry, say that again.
You can't go back to 3.5.
So, what's happening here? Who can help Ozzy with like, wait, that number line won't work. So Sean, you're right beside him. Just help him right back there. If you guys are struggling, chat with a neighbor. You're allowed to work with each other on this, especially since my smartboard is not smart this morning. Apparently it cleared it instead of capturing it, so my apologies. That slide I don't think is going to be captured, unless it captured it to the wrong... No, I only have one of those open. Hey! I don't know what did that, but...
But now you figured out how to do the square. Look, it goes away whenever you adjust it. All of it is screwed up.
Hold up, I think I know what to do. Nah, maybe not. So guys, I just upgraded this software, so it's different than what I had used before. So that's why some of this is giving me some glitches. But it's okay. Even with that box there, we can see everything. So who can talk me through my process here? Anish? Pair up the minus a negative. And guys, some of you did not do this as we wrote our notes, as we filled these things out. So please make sure that you show that we're using both of these to make a plus. And I honestly then rewrite it. -2 1/4 plus 3 1/2. And some of you then try to say, well, plus now we're adding the negative. No, we use both of these to make the plus sign. Think about the fact that the plus sign needs 2 lines. We use both the minus and the negative to make this plus. So now I have to start at -2 1/4. What is each of these little tick marks worth? Jeremiah? 1/4, right? Because I know I can go 1, 2, 3, 4 to get to 1, and that tells me it's worth 1/4. So I start at -2 1/4. Might as well start with red. So we start by going all the way down here to -2 1/4. This is where I start. Then, now I'm adding. So Andrew, what direction am I going to go since I'm adding?
You're going to go the right, but you need to simplify the fraction so it's easier to add.
What do you mean?
Since it's not 2/4.
So I can change 3 1/2 to 3 2/4. So actually, I agree with what you did. I just disagree with what you said. We're not simplifying. We're actually doing the opposite of simplifying. So all we're doing is showing an equivalent form. So equi means same, right? Equal. So we're just showing an equivalent form. We're doing the opposite of simplifying, because simplifying would be going to the reduced form. So now I have to go 3 2/4. So guys, the easiest thing to do first is go a partial to get to a whole number. So to get to a whole number, I can take this jump right there. How far did I jump? 1/4. Now, sorry, that's an integer. I said whole number. I meant a whole value. So that's an integer now, right? So I went 1 of the fourths. Now I could go 1 and 2 and 3. And then what do I have left over to go? 1 more fourth. So then I go my last fourth. 1, 2, 3. And I land my final answer. 1 1/4. It is already in reduced form. Any questions on that? Now, what if we didn't have a number line? How can we make this whole process way easier without using a number line? Well, we've got some decimal problems down here, and all of those are decimals, and you're going to see some decimal problems, but you're going to have fraction problems. And actually, I'll go ahead and tell you 4.6 and 4.7 are live on Schoology, so if you want to work ahead, like we said in the syllabus, some of this is self-paced. If you think you can do it, go ahead and try it. You've got 3 attempts. So if on your first attempt you don't do that well, that's okay. Give it a few days, come to class, learn the stuff, then try it again. You don't have to, just saying it's available because some of you are chomping at the bit to work ahead because right now you don't have much homework from other classes. What can I do to these fractions? And quite frankly, it's my favorite way to work with fractions to make that whole process just way easier. Ozzy?
Just do the negative subtract thing.
So yeah, again, we're going to pair up my minus and negative and make this addition.
And then make that 3 halves. And then you just subtract.
Wait. You just said make that 3 halves. 3 halves is that?
I mean,
3 and 1/2, thank you.
And then you just subtract 3 and 1/2 and 2 and 1/4. And then the 3 and 1/2 is more powerful, so you just take negative 2 and 1/4 off of the 3 and 1/2.
I agree with everything you said. That's still not that easy though, because I have fourths and halves and positives and negatives, and this is an easier type of problem. But we're going to have some really hard mixed number problems. And there's one trick to making your whole life way easier. Ellie?
I'm not 100% sure, but I would make it an improper fraction.
Improper fractions are way easier to work with. And I've always hated the name improper fraction because it's just, improper makes it sound like wrong or something like that. I know improper is because the bigger number's on top and that's not proper. But improper fractions are way easier to work with than mixed numbers. So start by making these improper. So, how do I make negative 2 and 1/4 improper? Flynn, what do you think?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, can you put your phone away, please? How do I make negative 2 and 1/4 an improper fraction? So that's your freebie, right? The next time, I just come by and take it. Unless you can show me you're using it for notes, or recording me, or something else. But I doubt you are. And we don't really need calculators right now either. Negative 2 and 1/4, or forget about the negative and think about it just as 2 and 1/4, because I know I can bring the negative along. You can always pass, by the way. I only called on you because I saw your phone. How do I take 2 and 1/4, make it improper? You want to pass it off? Yeah, or you can just say pass and I'll choose somebody. That's fine.
I would multiply 4 by 2 and add 1.
In my brain, this is what I think of. Grab the 2, multiply by the 4, add it to the 1. So now, 8 plus 1, 9/4. Remember, that's negative. Do the same thing with 3 1/2. 3 times 2 makes 6. Add it with the 1. I get 7/2. I still have an issue here. It's easier to work with now, though. Evie?
You can either divide the 4 and 9, but you can't really.
Now what are you trying to do?
I was going to say you could either divide 9/4 or multiply by the 9 is indivisible unless we're decimal.
Which we can't, because then that would be a complex fraction. So, Evie's looking to match up my denominators, is her whole process. She said, I can either divide the 4 by 2 to make it a 2, but I can't divide 9 by 2. So her alternative was multiply this 2 by 2 to make that into a 4. So then what we end up with is negative 9/4 plus 14/4. Ignore your denominators now. You know that your denominator will stay the same. Which has more power, negative 9 or 14? 14. So now just take the difference between 14 and 9. What is it? 5/4, or that 1 and 1/4 that we had gotten on the number line. So change it to an improper, match up your denominators, perform your operations. That's the easiest way to work with mixed numbers. So hopefully you wrote some of that down, or hopefully that process is a reminder to you. I don't know why this is being weird today. So go ahead and try your problem with liquid nitrogen down there. Nitrogen's really cool to play with. My physics teacher in college brought in a jug of liquid nitrogen and tried to freeze a racquetball. Actually, this was the first time it ever failed. He got really mad. It was kind of funny to watch because it wouldn't. So what he would do is he would take it out of the nitrogen and throw it at the ground, and it's rubber, right? But it would shatter because it was so cold. But this year, like the class that I was in, was the first time it ever didn't work. So then, like every 10 minutes through class, he kept pulling it out of the nitrogen and throwing it at the ground, and it kept not breaking. Yeah. So it was humorous just because he'd done it who knows how many times before, and it had worked. And well, like the argument is it only can get so cold. Like there's a point where it stops getting any colder. All right, smartboard. If you could just agree with me. All right, well that may not be able to be captured. And remember, see dry ice? Why is dry ice dangerous? Yeah, Elaine?
It's so cold, it's like hot, so if you touch it, it'll feel like it burns you.
Yeah, it's so cold it'll actually burn you, because as soon as you touch it, it pulls. So there's no such thing as heat. There's no such thing as cold. There's lack of heat. So it sucks the heat out of your body so quickly, you'll almost normally get stuck to it. Like you'll rip your skin off to get, yeah. So don't ever touch dry ice. Now, liquid nitrogen, and this is a misconception. Is liquid nitrogen dangerous? No. Does anyone know the L word? The L word that keeps it from being dangerous? Dom? Nope. It's called Leiden. Ooh, do you know it? So it's this thing called Leidenfrost. And it's the same thing that if you get a really, really hot pan and toss some water droplets on it, they like dance around and they don't ever like stop moving. You're so warm. Your body's so warm that if you take liquid nitrogen, which is negative 200 degrees Celsius, very, 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 very cold. Because guys, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. This is 2 times as negative as that is positive. When you pour it on yourself, it immediately turns to gas when it hits your skin, and that gas coming off of the liquid protects your skin. So literally, my physics teacher, professor in college, had a bowl of liquid nitrogen and kept doing this with his hand. And I, still in college, was like, what are you doing? You're going to burn your hand off. And he's like, oh, this is totally... And he just like kept playing with it. And he's like, it will not hurt you. And after class, I went up and I was like really scared. And as soon as your skin touches it, it turns to gas. So that protects yourself because of the drastic... Thanks. Hey, smartboard. Want to cooperate at any point?
Well, then they spilled some on the floor this time.
It'll just evaporate. That's the good thing about it. It just turns into nitrogen. And there's nitrogen in the air that we breathe already. Oh, that's frustrating.
Isn't nitrogen used to power something like cars?
Maybe. So, how can we find the difference between these temperatures? I have a negative 78.5 degrees and a negative 195.79 degrees. Ellie?
I subtracted negative 78. Wait. Darn it. No, come back. I can't talk today. I subtracted the carbon dioxide from the nitrogen.
I can agree with that. But when you subtract a negative, what actually ended up happening?
It becomes a positive.
One of them became a positive, and if the other one's still negative, then a positive added with a negative really becomes subtraction all over again because that commutative property. So think about this, guys. If I was at -5 and I wanted to know the distance between -5 and -8, well, if we just count that, how far is that? 3, right? So between -5 and -8, couldn't I just look at it as 5 and 8 since they both have the same sign? So when we're trying to find distances or differences between two values that have the same sign, treat them like they're positive. Because they both have the same sign, if they were both positive, that distance would be the same as if they're both negative. So here, all we really need to do is set up 195.79 or 79 hundredths minus 78.5. Do you guys think I'm crazy and think that's right? It will normally catch up with me. It will normally. So go ahead and set up that subtraction. I think I just have too much going on my computer, maybe. Whoa, hate is a strong word. Alright, guys. Cool out. Hey, look, there's my ink. I found it. Give me a second. Yeah, you guys could go ahead and solve this, and then that'd be sweet, because I would be super impressed that you did it without me.
I did it. You got it?
Sorry, guys, Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong, and it just has, because now my computer won't do anything. So while it has a morning moment, I'm going to go ahead and pass out our next set of notes. I don't know how far we'll get, but we'll get as far as we can. Now, exactly what I just said to you about dealing with the distance between two negatives is going to be extremely useful as we start this section dealing with distance on the number line. I know, I just have to give that a moment. Wow. I've never had to wait this long on this computer. I need to go get some RAM, I think. Any of you guys work on computers or stuff? Yeah, I might need some help. I haven't busted open. Well, I either order from Newegg or I go to Micro Center, but I've only installed RAM a couple times and it's been in laptops.
I got some thermal paste from Micro Center. That's basically all I bought.
Hey, there we go. Hold up. All right, got it back.
Good job.
All right.
Miracle.
So, anyone perform this subtraction yet?
Yes.
What'd you guys get?
117.29.
117.29. Can anyone verify that? Is that correct? Now, would this be positive or negative? Because both of these numbers were negative.
Negative.
Jeremiah?
That's positive because they cancel each other out?
Nope.
That's only for multiplication, right?
Distance can only be positive. If I asked you to go a negative 10 yards,
I'd walk backwards.
but you'd still be traveling 10 yards. It's like the fact that you can't go back in time.
I will.
You cannot, no. Okay, Dom, if you figure out how to time travel, come back to 3 seconds from now.
I will. You might just need to give me a couple of years.
But then you would have come back in time to, well, 2 seconds ago, or however long it was. So sorry, it looks like you don't discover time
I
travel.
won't discover time travel and come back to the stage.
But if you do, then we would have already seen you.
Yeah.
That's the paradox of time travel.
But
No,
what
but
if
that
it
would-
develops it where like you can be invisible and like you're still here?
Okay.
But
Okay.
you're not here?
So here's the deal.
Go back and stop the
Hey, here's the deal. What we're trying to recognize here is that distance between values, or the difference between values, is always represented as a positive number. And if we had set this up as this value minus that value, or that value minus that value, we would have gotten a positive answer as we work through our problem. So when we say which of these temperatures is higher, well, since they're both negative, which one's higher is really asking which one's closer to 0. So Elaine?
Negative 78.5.
Yeah, this one's higher, and it's higher by the 117 and 29/100ths of a degree Celsius. So it would be the carbon dioxide, because it becomes a solid way before nitrogen becomes a liquid. Or,
So,
yeah.
it is a positive?
It is a positive because it's distance. It's talking about how far apart they are.
But that doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
So yes, Jeremiah was right. What do you mean that doesn't make sense?
Because negative says that 17.29 is still a negative number.
This one is? No, it's not. Why?
Because when you minus carbon dioxide from the nitrogen, you still get a negative number. It's still negative.
No, you don't.
Yes, it is.
I'll show you.
Well, prove that you Well, you can if you can back it up.
Okay, so this is terrible for the fact that I love technology, but I'm going to use my chalkboard because that's disagreeing with me.
Mr. Hudson, you need to adjust your webcam now.
I'm still pretty close in it.
No,
So,
no, we will
You're on mute.
oh my gosh, somebody turn that. Jeremiah, turn my webcam. So, negative 195.79, it doesn't matter which one you actually start with, minus the negative 78.5.
Even if it was plus.
Chill.
Okay, now
When, chill, get it? Huh? So, when we're discussing distance or difference between values, our subtraction problem has to be nestled inside of an absolute value.
why?
Because distance can't be negative.
Why not?
Manasa, can you go 20 seconds negative?
No.
Can you go negative 5 miles?
No.
Can you eat negative 5 burritos? There are situations where negatives don't make any sense. So,
Then you've eaten negative 5 burritos if you just bark them up.
distance.
Eating that 5 burritos is going up
Well, what if you chew while you're throwing it?
So guys, remember the whole like, if tomorrow's going to be a work day, we have to get through things to make it a work day? We need to get through 4-6 to have a work day. So, however far we get is always up to you guys.
Well, this is fun, so. Trying to prove Mr. Hudson.
So, the notes I just put in front of you dealing with distance on a number line, or difference between two values, because distance on a number line is exactly the same as difference between two. That's the word, Doc. I do not want the word. Go away. Alright, so, if we, hey guys, can we focus? Because I'm about to just like give up and say tomorrow we have a lesson, too bad for your workday. So when we talk about different types of different types of clouds, we have altostratus, nimbostratus, we have all of these different cloud types, and a lot of times they have prefixes depending on where they are in the sky or what type of cloud they are. Giant thunderstorm last night, if you missed it, you should live with my dog, then you wouldn't miss it. But if we want to talk about the distance between them, or how much higher altostratus are from nimbostratus. So if I set up this problem and I say, okay, how much higher are they? My ink is still not working correctly.
How do you pronounce that?
Use a light or use a dry erase marker.
Can't. You're not supposed to use dry erase on a smart board. It's really bad for it.
Yeah, I had teachers that were in elementary who did that a bunch of times. All the substitute, one substitute.
I think I'm gonna have to restart my computer, honestly.
Did you watch that one? That works.
There we go. Program was not responding. Let's try this now.
It works. It like comes up and then it just erases. Wait, is it on tools?
So, how do we find the distance between two positives? This is easy. Distance between two positives. Wait. Just subtract them. Which do we start with, though? Yeah, we take big minus small, right? So, I don't know if this is going to turn back on. Yeah, except that's PDF tools. So, just set up 4.1 minus 1.3. We should get 4.1 minus 1.3 because the base of the altostratus compared to the base of the nimbostratus. Trying to get to my main menu.
Hey, we got the little video thing that's running.
It goes way up. Well, it's like,
Hey, your smarting's back.
I know.
Wait, is this just
There we go.
Alright.
So, 4.1 minus 1.3, what do we get for the difference here?
2.8.
Gabriella, right? No, Ashley? Yes, Ashley. 2.8, right? So the difference here, 2.8, fairly easy subtraction to figure out. Now, cumulonimbus, from the top of a cumulonimbus to the bottom, and a lot of cumulonimbus are storm clouds. So 4 1/8 minus 1 3/4. 4 1/8 minus 1 3/4. Now, what is our process here for making this easier since we started with mixed numbers? Monica?
Can I do the whole process?
Sure.
Mixed numbers, that's 7/4, and no, the second one is 7/4. The first one is 37,
Close.
36.
8, 16. Double that. 32. Add 1, 33.
8, and then you double that, so it's 48.
Double. Okay, we got to be specific. We're going to double our 7/4, numerator and denominator, to match up with our 8.
So it's 14/8, and then you just minus the 33 from 33, so it's 0.
Subtract.
No. Oh. Oh, there. Yeah.
33 minus 14?
20. No.
19. So you get 19/8. If we want to convert that back to a mix, we would then get 2 3/8. So guys, this cloud, we're measuring in miles, is almost 2.5 miles tall. Guys, that is about 13, probably over 13,000 feet. Hey, Julian, you got a question, man? Because I was letting it go, hoping you'd figure it out, but you guys good? Or do I need to make the seating chart so you're not next to each other? Because that's kind of what you're communicating to me right now. This is why I have not made a seating chart yet. Trying to figure out, can you guys handle picking your seats, or do I need to pick your seats? Ozzy?
if the cumulonimbus has only like 1.4 miles above the ground, how are tornadoes formed?
That would be a better question for Kabilo or another day, because I have like 3 minutes left. So, and last year during Discover Columbus, we did a big thing about tornadoes. But tornadoes aren't necessarily all that tall. It comes from warm air and cold air meeting and creating a cyclone, and then it turns sideways. So it actually starts spinning like this before it turns and spins like this. But
How does it turn?
air pushes it, literally gets pushed by the pressure systems.
That's cool.
So now we start talking about the ocean and where certain animals live. And we've done a bunch of exploring. We actually There's different people that argue that we know more about the space around us than we do about the ocean beneath us, because the ocean's really, really, really deep, and there's tons of pressure as you go down in the ocean. So it wasn't until recently that we could actually send vessels deep down in the ocean. So this midnight zone, why do you think they call it the midnight zone? Ozzy? Yeah, there's no light down there. No light gets down there. So most things can't survive, but there's some really, really interesting creatures down there that have adapted to survive in those cold, lightless environments. So we want to talk about how much space is there in the midnight zone. This is where our whale that we're like collecting data on or something hangs out. So what is its elevation change or range of elevation? Because range is one of the words in your homework. Range is distance in a number set, difference between the top and the bottom. So Jeremiah, how would I do this?
So his range? Are we trying to find out his range?
Yeah, the distance between here, which would be the range.
Okay. You subtract the biggest number and the smallest.
Now, what do you mean by biggest?
No, the furthest down he can dive and the furthest up. Right?
So I kind of agree, but because Manasa wanted to fight me so much, I'm going to show it the way that we... So when we set up our clouds, and we had positive numbers, we started with the bigger number minus the lower number, right?
Yeah.
Bigger is always highest up. So if I start with negative 2,500, and then minus the negative 10,200, which is actually the proper way to do this, I'll get a positive answer. Because minus and negative pairs up, becomes negative 2,500 plus 10,200, and that gives me my positive difference between them. If I did the subtraction in the wrong order, that's okay, as long as I put absolute values around it and make it positive at the end.
Okay.
If you want to duke it out mathematically more, come chat with me. I'll explain it deeper if it's still messing with your brain. We will start right below the whale tomorrow. We will wrap up the lesson probably within 10 minutes, and then we will have a work day. Thank you guys very much. Sorry about the tech issues. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much. Hopefully my computer agrees with me.